here by Hello, my name is Dr. Fred, and I've been invited here by Shelley Harrison to join the Global Women's Network, which is just such an honor for me. I'm just so excited to be here and share anything, any kind of knowledge or any kind of wisdom or any kind of direction or instruction I might have about the particular topic that Shelley Harrison has asked me to open up into today. So I realize that the Global Women's Networking is primarily made of women. And so luckily for to us today, the topic is also a woman's topic. And clearly, I'm not a woman, but at the same time, I've certainly have experienced a number of women as clients of mine, as partners of mine, as colleagues of mine who go through a similar process of the one that we're going to speak of today. And what is that? It's a process that happens to some women all day, like every waking minute. And that process is the process of the multitasking that it takes to be a woman in modernity, in the present modern Western universe. Like, what is it that all of you have to go through to get through an entire day? And what are the byproducts of going through a day that is filled with multitasking that leads you to think certain things or be affected by certain things or have certain things interrupt your day inside of your thoughts or your feelings or your emotions? So the topic for today is women and multitasking. And then, like as a result of that, the little voice that happens in the head as a result of all that multiple multitasking experience that goes on all day, every day. And how can one experience all that and keep themselves in relatively balanced mental health? So let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is Dr. Fred, and I like to call myself a recovering, retiring psychiatrist, meaning I have been a psychiatrist. I've been in the mental health field actually since 1980 officially, and then went to medical school and became a psychiatrist in the late 80s. And then after that, I became a conventional psychiatrist, had multiple different conversations with people from all walks of life, women and men, and some specialty with children and specialty with geriatrics. And I've been all over the psychiatric and mental health world. So I've had about 40,000 people share their lives with me in one shape or another. And maybe that doesn't equip me to absolutely understand experientially what it's like to be a woman, but I think we can really talk globally about what it's like to be a human, and then pare it down a little bit to what it must be or what it is like for women who are multitasking all day. What are some of the tasks that are going on that are multitasking? Well, we wake up and we might have a family to take care of, or we might have a partner to take care of, or we might have a parent to take care of, or we might even just have ourselves to take care of. And already we have a calendar that's full with activities. And then we have the things that were left over from yesterday. We have the emails and we have the messages and we have a desk full of things that are on our plate, if we will, that we have to take care of. And if we have any kind of extended family, whether that's children or a partner or family or ourselves or a team of people, or maybe some women, many women these days, of course, are holding down a career. There's so many things that are just flooding through the day. Like, how do I keep this all in place? How do I take care of everybody? How do I make sure that things are running smooth? What about the laundry? What about the food that I need to make? What about the care that I need to provide? What about the love that I need to actually put forth? What do I have to do to direct or instruct the people that I'm responsible for caring for? What do I have to do to actually be a solid citizen? How can I look good all day long? How can I speak with the kind of kindness and love and compassion that I know is in the middle of my heart? And even as you hear me, it's already so many different things, and there's so much like flooding of things that need to be happening. And somehow, in many ways, this is how the diagnosis of adult attention deficit disorder got created. Oftentimes, that diagnosis, when it was first coming out just about a couple decades ago, it almost reliably was with women who were multitasking. The idea was that there were so many things that women were being asked to do that they couldn't keep a handle on everything. And it seemed like they had an attention deficit, was at least one way to explain it. Another way to explain it is like understanding that the world is actually asking you to do an inordinate amount of things all day long. And it's typical and it's reliable, and there's nothing wrong with you for having difficulty staying on that plane. and taking care of all the responsibilities that it takes to be a woman in the present day and age in modern Western society. So, and then a little voice comes in the head, and that little voice is there all the time. It's been there all the time. It's been there since you were a child. It's always there. And if you think it's not there, try shutting it down. Let's go a little bit silent for a moment and see if you can shut down that little voice in your head. Now, that little voice is still there. You might notice that that little voice is saying something like, "What little voice? I don't have a little voice." That's the voice I'm talking about. There's a voice, a little chatter that's going on in your head all the time. And that little voice can get to be pretty disturbing. At times, it can just be chattering and telling you what you should do or that you didn't do something right, or how are you going to get all these things done, or, like how are you going to manage all the objects in your home, or how are you going to manage all the projects that you're taking on? How are you going to manage all the people that you need to take care of? And then, are you doing a good enough job? Are you actually meeting your own standards? And that little voice, if we listen to it as if it is us, can actually take us off of balance. And that can have us feeling imbalanced, or in many ways, another way to look at that term is the term diseased or unease, if you will, like not necessarily disease, but diseased or imbalanced or in significant discomfort. Now, I want you to get something that I think is very important and is the stand of Welcome to Humanity and the work that I do, Dr. Fred, now as a transformational restorative coach. I no longer am practicing conventional psychiatry. I don't do that anymore because I don't think that it's very effective to actually diagnose people and give them medicines. In most cases, I think the medicines are not the best choice. There's multiple ways to have people actually heal and cure without going down the main street of conventional psychiatry and the treatment and medications that come with that route. So instead, what I want you to get is this following thing that may be difficult for you to hear. And that is, it is entirely possible that there's nothing wrong with you at all. And I mean nothing. Even the part of you that knows that there is something wrong with you, even that part means that there's nothing wrong with you. What do I mean by that? Each and every one of us is pretty sure that there's something actually wrong with us. Each and every one of us has that feeling that there's something wrong with us. So it's actually a sign of normalcy to believe that there's something wrong with ourselves. Now, that may sound like a twist on terms, but it's actually really, really true. Each and every one of us compares our insides to other people's outsides, and it looks like everyone has had their stuff together, has their stuff together, like their day together and their plans together and their thoughts together, and they're getting things done better and more and with more grace or more ease than we do. But the truth is, that's not the case. We are all humans actually struggling through the same challenging world issues, and whether they're in the community or in the global aspect or in our neighborhood or even in our homes or in our partnerships, we're all dealing with things that are very complicated and really set themselves so as being multitasking. For instance, even right now, I'm in this particular live, but I have about two or three other places that I'm booked to be in, even right now, that are on my mind. Like I could be there, or I should be there, or why am I where I am in any given moment? What am I doing that is actually moving the needle forward? And I can get a sense of overwhelm, and I'm sure all of you can relate to that. That little voice is the one that leaves us feeling imbalanced. And one of the best ways to manage imbalance is to realize that you are not alone at all. And it is inside of human connection, primarily, inside of actually connecting to another human, connecting through self expression, connecting through sharing, connecting through vocabulary, like vocally speaking and listening to another person. That is where healing emanates from. You don't even have to, it's not so much the content of what comes spilling out of our mouths at that time. It's the idea that someone is there who can understand, who can get, who can actually resonate harmonically with our experience. Have you ever noticed that when you have someone like that in your world at any given moment who can understand even the sense of overwhelm, which isn't very real, by the way, it's just what our mind says, that's too much, we're spilling over. It's a real experience, but it's one that we filter and we create for ourselves. So it is in the sharing and the connection and the resonating with another human that healing takes place. So, how do I suggest dealing with that little voice in your head? Number one, the most important thing is to get that maybe, just maybe, there's nothing wrong with you at all. And that little voice in your head that you might call intuition, other people might call it different things. And in different settings, like in an emergency room, if you go in and you say you're having a voice in your head, they will respond entirely differently than if you tell somebody, I don't know, I just had a premonition or I just had an intuition. It's the same voice, it just comes out in a different context and therefore gets dealt with by the people around us using different techniques and different strategy management styles. So, the best thing to tell yourself is A, there's nothing wrong with me. Like maybe there's nothing wrong with me that I'm having a voice that is dogging me about the multiple things that are going on in my life and how overwhelmed I feel at any given moment. And then B, the second thing is seek out sharing yourself with another person, actually sharing yourself through any kind of form of self expression. One of the best ways to share ourselves that we don't always take into consideration, that it sounds like it's maybe surrendering, but in fact works tremendously to decrease the impact of this experience, is to actually be of service. That's right. Even be of more service than you're being right now to your kids, to your husband, to your friends, to the projects, to yourself, like going on and helping anybody do anything as a way of managing this, opening up that last piece of yourself or the next piece of yourself and being there for another person to actually take on what it's like to, you know, to be of service, to help another person do anything. Those are the things I have in mind for you today. Number one, there might be nothing wrong with you. Number two, the best anecdote for all of this is sharing with another, finding someone else who can listen and get and resonate harmonically with you. And number three, if you have any ideas of any way you can help another person do anything, so helping anyone else do anything, that is a great thing to do. My name is Dr. Fred, and if you want to learn a little bit more about me and the services I provide, including one-to-one and group coaching, and I also have a couple courses I've taught, and I'm a podcaster, and I also a podcast guest and a guest speaker, multiple different things. I've written a few articles that are free on this website called drfred360.com, which you can see down below. I invite you to take a peek at that and give me a call or reach out if you feel like you want to have some form of we'll call it a discovery call to see if we resonate together and if there's anything I can provide to move your life forward. It would be a deep honor, and it has been a deep honor to be with you this afternoon. And I look forward to having any contact with you, all of you in the future, and any way I can help any of you would be my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on your live today on the Global Women's Network. And it's Dr. Fred now signing off. Thanks a lot for inviting me, Shelley. Really, really fantastic.